before history was written, before names were carved into stone, before medals were handed out, there were women who carried the world quietly.
No cameras, no applause, no recognition.
They did not ask to be remembered. They only chose to be brave. Some saved lives without ever being seen. Some changed futures without ever being thanked. Some fought battles the world pretended did not exist. Tonight, this is not about famous heroes. This is about the ones history ignored. The women who stood in the shadows and changed everything. History remembers loud names, but it forgets the quiet courage. It forgets the women who stood in the shadows, who never asked to be seen, who never waited for applause, who carried the weight of the world silently and changed it forever. This is not a story of fame. This is a story of sacrifice, of strength hidden behind ordinary faces, of women who woke up every day knowing no one would thank them. Yet they chose bravery anyway. In a small room filled with paper and silence, a woman sat for years decoding messages that could end wars. Her hands shook not from fear, but from responsibility. Every symbol she cracked saved lives she would never meet. She could not speak of her work. She could not share her victory. When the war ended, her name faded into files. But millions went home alive because she existed. Somewhere else a woman walked into burning buildings not as a firefighter, but as a nurse. Bombs fell overhead. The ground trembled. She ran toward screams while others ran away. She wrapped wounds with shaking fingers, held hands as life slipped away, and whispered comfort in chaos. Her reward was survival of others. Her trauma was carried alone. In crowded factories during wartime, women replaced the men who left for battle. They worked double shifts, hands bleeding, backs breaking, building machines, weapons, planes. They were told it was temporary, that when the war ended they would step aside. And they did, without statues, without stories, without thanks. In a hospital hallway late at night, a black woman scientist walked past doors marked restricted. She was not supposed to be there, not because she lacked intelligence, but because the world decided she did not belong. Her research would later save thousands of lives, but her name would never be in textbooks. Only the results would remain. In the civil rights era, when marches filled the streets, some women organized quietly behind the scenes. They cooked meals, sheltered activists, typed letters, risked their families, their safety, their homes. They were threatened, beaten, silenced. Yet history remembers the speeches, not the hands that made them possible. In small towns across America, women opened their homes to children who had none. They became mothers overnight, healers, counselors, protectors. They were not rich. They were not famous. They gave what they had: time, love, patience, and watched broken children learn how to smile again. A woman stood alone against corruption in her workplace. She knew speaking up would cost her job, her reputation, her future. She spoke anyway. She was fired, ignored, labeled difficult. Years later, policies changed. Others benefited. Her sacrifice was invisible. There was a woman who fought for equal pay long before it was popular. She worked harder than anyone else, earned less, was told to be grateful. She kept pushing,
Kept documenting.
kept believing. Her fight opened doors for generations she would never meet. In science labs, women made discoveries credited to men. They watched their work published under someone else's name. They smiled. They continued. Because discovery mattered more than recognition. Their passion was bigger than their pride. Some women survived unspeakable violence, and instead of letting it destroy them, they chose to help others heal. They became advocates, counselors, listeners. They relived their pain again and again, so others would feel less alone. There were women who crossed oceans alone, leaving everything behind, facing fear, language barriers, racism. They cleaned houses, raised families not their own, sent money home, built futures quietly. Their courage was never photographed. A teacher stayed late every day. buying supplies with her own money, seeing potential where others saw problems, changing one life at a time. Her impact measured not in awards, but in futures rewritten. A woman stood in court against her abuser, her voice shaking, her hands cold. She spoke the truth, not just for herself, but for every woman still afraid. Her bravery echoed long after the trial ended. Some women fought wars without weapons, against hunger, illness, ignorance. They organized communities, taught mothers how to protect their children, built systems where none existed. They changed the world slowly, patiently, powerfully. They were told to be quiet, to wait, to know their place. They refused, not with noise, but with action. These women did not chase greatness. They answered necessity. They did what had to be done, when no one else would. They cried alone. They doubted themselves. They felt fear. But courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward anyway. History often writes heroes as loud and proud, but real heroism is often quiet,
hidden,
uncelebrated. It is in the woman who keeps going when she is exhausted, in the woman who stands up when it would be easier to sit down, in the woman who helps even when no one is watching. Their names may be missing, but their impact surrounds us. In freedoms we enjoy, in rights we inherit,
in lives saved,
in doors opened. Every time a girl dreams bigger, every time a woman refuses to give up, every time someone believes they matter, it is because of those who came before. Unseen, unheard, unpraised. They were not perfect. They were human. And that is what makes them extraordinary. This is for the women whose stories were never told, for the heroes history forgot, for the courage that lived in silence, and for you, because bravery still matters, and the world still needs quiet heroes.